The world's largest nuclear fusion reactor has been switched on in Germany. If successful, it's hoped that the machine could pave the way for virtually limitless sources of zero-carbon electricity. Neve Barker has been to see it and reports from northern Germany.
9, 8, 7.
After 19 years in construction, it's time to fire up Germany's revolutionary fusion machine. It's a tense moment. For physicists here at the Max Planck Institute, these flickering images are a milestone in the hunt for clean, boundless energy. Encased behind a 100-ton concrete wall is the colossal stellarator. Only a handful of stellarators have been attempted, few completed, but none as big or complex as the Wendelstein 7X. It's hoped this device will be a major game changer. Conventional nuclear power stations generate energy by splitting atoms, a process that requires an awful lot of fuel and produces a tremendous amount of hazardous waste. For a long time, scientists have believed nuclear fusion to be the greenest answer. But fusing together particles at extreme temperatures is no easy feat. The stellarator takes its inspiration from the sun. A mixture of readily available gases are heated to 100 million degrees Celsius, so hot that atoms break apart, forming a soup of flowing ions and electrons. These particles are then accelerated, and when they collide, they generate immense energy. And in order to keep the superheated soup stable, it's suspended in a powerful magnetic cage. Physicists are now hoping to reach a point where they get more energy out than they need to put in. But that's still decades away.
Fusion is a promise, and it still needs research. We have the feeling it could work, and if we achieve everything to put all the elements together to make fusion happen, then we have an abundant, clean, CO2 neutral, climate neutral energy source.
After the Fukushima nuclear disaster in Japan, the German government promised to phase out all conventional nuclear power plants in the next 7 years. But how safe is nuclear fusion?
This is more like an ordinary fire. There's very little fuel in the machine, and to keep the fire going, one has to add fuel all the time. The gas in our experiment here weighs no more than a postage stamp. So even if it all burns up, nothing much happens.
As world leaders wrangle over the best way to tackle climate change, scientists here are toasting their achievements. A vital step closer towards the dream of limitless power. Neve Barker, Al Jazeera, Greifswald.
Let's hear now from Daphne Wysham, Director of the Climate and Energy Program at the Center for Sustainable Economy, who's with us now live from Portland, Oregon. Daphne, nuclear energy used to be the big bad wolf as far as environmentalists were concerned. People were scared of nuclear energy. That doesn't seem to be the case now. It's being championed as the savior as far as climate change is concerned.
Well, I disagree with that contention. Actually, your previous segment was focusing on nuclear fusion, which is a form of energy that has yet to be proven. Conventional nuclear power is extremely dangerous. Virtually every environmental group in the world is opposed to expanding the use of nuclear power as a solution to climate change. It's clear that in order to address the climate crisis, we would need to, if we were to use traditional nuclear power, we would need to build 1 nuclear power plant per week for the next 40 years. That's just simply unfeasible, both from an economic perspective and more importantly from a security perspective. The security concerns around nuclear power plants aren't just limited to the potential for an accident such as what we saw happen in Fukushima. In fact, we're still dealing with radioactive ocean water coming to our shores here in the Pacific Northwest, though it's not being monitored closely enough. That's just one concern, is the risk of an accident in the event of a tsunami or an earthquake. The other, of course, is the threat of a terrorist attack. And all we have to do is look at the newspaper today to see how common terrorist attacks are, both in the developed North and in the global South.
All right, so there are a lot of negatives. Why, though, are high-profile scientists like James Hansen saying that nuclear power is the answer to climate change? What are the positives?
Well, you know, the thing about James Hansen, and I have great admiration for him as a climate scientist, as do just about everyone I know who has studied climate science and climate politics. He was one of the first to speak out on the dangers of climate change. He is not a nuclear scientist. He, unfortunately, I believe, and quite a few others believe, has overstepped out of his area of scientific expertise. And I'm not alone. There are quite a few countries that also are very concerned about this language of nuclear being proposed as a solution to the climate crisis.
Okay. What are your hopes then for the climate talks, which are hoping to reach a legally binding agreement by Friday this week?
Well, legally binding, I think, is a pipe dream, frankly. I think what we will see, if we're lucky, is a target of 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2050, 1.5 to survive, not by 2100, by 2050. Right now, what's on the table, we'll see an increase to 3 or 4 degrees Celsius or more by 2100, which is simply catastrophic, so that can't happen. What we need to see happen is enough sufficient resources put on the table to allow countries like India, who plans to build hundreds of coal-fired power plants, unless they are given economic alternatives that are affordable for clean energy. They clearly need to provide electricity to hundreds of millions of their residents that is affordable, and we can do that. We just have to generate the political will to do so.
Let's go right back to where we started with nuclear fusion then. What needs to happen to get to a point where nuclear fusion is an option? It's one of the clean energy options that is in the pipeline right now, but it's going to be a long time before that kind of electricity is going to benefit everybody.
Absolutely. I mean, for as long as I've been alive, they've been saying nuclear fusion is a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades away. We're no closer to that dream of nuclear fusion. As far as I'm concerned, it's still a pipe dream. What we have is the nuclear nightmare of nuclear waste, of Fukushima, of Chernobyl, still haunting the lives of thousands, if not millions, of people around the globe.
Daphne, really good to talk to you. Many thanks indeed for being with us. Daphne Wysham there in Portland, Oregon.
Thank you for having me.